Hello, I'm Robert Wolf,
And I'm Michael Hall.
and you're watching Innovation Coffee. All right. Hello. Once again, I'm Robert Wolf,
And I'm Michael Hall.
and you're watching Innovation Coffee. And this is actually a special episode because we are coming to you live from Cambridge, England, at the home office, ARM's home office, and I think like the ultimate headquarters for ARM.
It is. Like, I've gone to 3 offices so far.
Which
and
ones?
They've gotten progressively better, and I think progressively bigger too.
Yes.
So my first one was Austin, right?
That was your first one, huh?
Yeah, it was. And it was a nice office. It was hot, but it was a nice office. Like, I thought, this is huge. It's, biggest company I've worked for in a long time, right? And then we go to San Jose.
But I feel like the Austin one's bigger than San Jose.
Is it? Like, San Jose felt bigger.
Yeah, it is, right? Yeah.
But then
Marc over here's not nodding.
but then Cambridge, like, we come here and like there's all these buildings. The buildings are huge, and then there's like 7 of them or something.
Yeah.
They don't all look like this though.
No, yeah.
Nice.
So we actually reserved the ARM home office library. It's a somewhat small library, but it is pretty cool, and I think it gave us space for a nice backdrops, which I thought was nice. So you may have noticed, if you were following at all the updates to our video on YouTube, originally we were going to have an interview with the entire developer marketing org team. This is all the people who spent the last year putting together the developer program and everything that we've done to get to this point, and have our ambassadors and everything in place. And then we ran into Gianmarco Iodice, and we were like, that's going to be a better episode.
Yeah.
and so we got Gianmarco Iodice signed up, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it. And so we are now I want to say we hit our tier 1 guest now. Tier 1.
Before we move on, I am going to go ahead and plug Gianmarco's book, because we're going to have him on to talk about this.
We will have him on.
He wrote the Tiny ML cookbook, and we will get him on a future episode.
We will.
He owes us now, so he's got to come on.
Yes. But, I guess as luck would have it, we actually ended up with, I think, probably the best guest we could have gotten. And this is one of my favorite people at ARM, I think, Marc Meunier, who is the director of ecosystem development for infrastructure. And we're going to bring him on in just a second, but I do want to let you know that this is a pretty last minute invite. And so we're going to do our best to get some good questions asked, and I'm sure he'll give us some good answers. So Mike, do you want to cover anything else before we bring in Marc?
Yeah, if anyone has questions for Marc, as Robert said, we haven't had a lot of time to prepare questions for him. So if you're watching live, you can ask us questions right from the YouTube link. And we've got Gabe here producing our videos, and he will feed us questions if they come in through there, because Robert and I can't actually see it.
Are you going to do that, Gabe, for us? Okay, yeah, he's nodding. All right, cool. So let's bring in Marc. Marc, come on in. He's standing here. Yeah. So let's see. Gabe, can you confirm we have some audio here from Marc?
Test.
Test. All right. So we're in. Marc, welcome to Innovation Coffee. You've been on the show before.
I have.
Yes.
It's been a few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you still doing the same thing?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so let's start with that. What are you doing at ARM now? Who is Marc, and what do you do?
Well, I'm in the infrastructure line of business, so that hasn't changed. I'm also an ecosystem development manager, director, same thing. Basically, the role that I play is to work with the community above the hardware stack, right, in the software space, to create an environment for the new technology that we bring out.
Awesome. And it's my understanding the infrastructure space for ARM is a huge thing right now. I mean, I was just at Google Cloud Next. It was an awesome event. I had a lot of fun. And I mean, you think, okay, ARM, IoT everywhere, ARM, mobile, tablets everywhere. And then you think infrastructure, and you think servers, the cloud, edge space, and ARM was almost everywhere now. It's getting to a point where you start walking through all of these companies, these booths, and talking to people. And, Ampere being very ever present. They have new instances. The C3, is it a C3N instance that was just launched at Google Cloud Next? Anyways, there's just so much stuff happening over there. Now, you were telling me earlier, confidential compute is something that you've been focused on, and this kind of relates to this topic.
Yeah. So you mentioned at the beginning that we're here in Cambridge,
Yes.
and I've been here for a couple of days working in this space in the confidential compute environment. We're just trying to figure out what are the tools that we need to deliver to the developers to make that technology accessible.
Can we backtrack a little bit? Because like I've heard this term confidential compute or confidential containers. Can you tell us what these terms actually mean?
That's confidential.
Yeah. Good. Drop the jargon,
Good
Mark.
Let me see here. So when you think about security and what's available today, we can protect data as it's traveling from one location to another. We know how to protect data when it's at rest. What confidential compute is all about is protecting your data while it's in use.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I can elaborate a little bit more. So if you think about your data in use, imagine that you're putting your applications or your data on somebody's server.
Like we do these days.
Like we do a lot with all of our hyperscalers. Maybe you don't want that information to be accessible by anybody else. By enabling confidential compute in that server, you can get assurance that your data and your applications are protected.
So this is about like you're running your software on a public cloud, say like an Oracle or a GCP, and you don't want them necessarily being able to see the data that you're running on their hardware, right?
Exactly.
So how does that work?
So how does that work? What you're doing is you're locking out a space in that server that you are the only one with the access to it. So the hypervisor that's running in that server still manages the resources, but it can't see the data.
And so
that's hardware protected.
And is this data that's encrypted, or is this data that's just simply protected? Because I mean, like, I'm a big crypto guy. All right. Crypto, blockchain. Yep. I mean, I know that I can participate on certain chains. I can lock my coins up. I can lock data up, and I can access that data with a crypto private key. How are people locking this data up and or giving access or getting access to this data? And again, also, is it like encrypted? Are you using something to encrypt it in, decrypt it out, or is it just raw data stored there and then you're just accessing it through how? What's the key?
All right. So what you're enabling with confidential compute is end-to-end protection of your data.
Okay.
You're extending what is already available, which are tools that encrypt, protect your data when it's at rest and when it's in transit. Now, when you're processing the data on your processor, you need to decode that. It needs to be processed natively. And that's what confidential compute does. It blocks out an area inside of your CPU, so your cache, and all the activity that's taking place is taking place in what is called a realm, which is isolated. So it's not encrypted. It's not encrypted. It's not processed in an encrypted state. It is processed in a protected state.
And this is a hardware feature. This is built into the chip. It is a hardware
feature. It is built into the chip.
Yeah. Are there new instruction sets that implement this?
That's right. So what's happened is there's an extension in the ARM architecture. It was released in version 9.3, and it adds a whole new layer of functionality to create and manage these realms.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm genuinely kind of, I guess. Okay. So first of all, Mark, I'm blown away because, what was it when we first started hanging out at when we've probably been together 4 years now or something.
That's right. Yeah. 4 years.
You were all about Parsec, platform abstraction for security. And so you've kept this kind of security hat on.
Absolutely.
Something you're passionate about, or something you got sucked into?
That's a good question. I guess I never really thought about it. Am I passionate about security, or did I get sucked into it? I think it's just a natural progression, right? As you look at your career, there are choices that you make, but if you understand something, you're often the one that gets to answer a lot of questions about it.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess let's dive a little bit deeper into confidential compute. And I want to, when I say dive deeper, I mean dive deeper for developers. So, how might one go get more information about this? And can developers get access to this now? I mean, is it, and or where should they watch for more information?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess there's an interesting distinction to be made here. If you're developing an application that you want to run in a confidential enabled environment, ideally there's no changes to your application. Everything looks the same. but you need infrastructure to be able to attest and validate where you're running that instance. So you get assurance that before you send the application or run it, that it's in the secure environment. That's the piece that needs to be added on to your infrastructure or your application. Now, as a developer today, you can use fast models to, emulate this or simulate this environment, and then create that entire flow to, prepare yourself for this upcoming technology. That would be the way you would get started.
Awesome. Okay. And just so you know, everyone who's watching, whether it's live or on demand, we'll make sure any of these kind of keywords, fast models, confidential compute, and the stuff that we've been kind of throwing out there, we'll make sure that there are resources plugged into the description, because there are things out there available to you. And of course, don't forget, if you're not already in there, join the Discord server, because we can talk more about this there later on.
That's right.
Yes.
So you mentioned this is part of ARM 9.3.
That's right.
I think you said, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got fast models, so you can try it there. But that means that there's not actual hardware yet that people can use. So that's coming soon, right?
That's right. So our partners have the ability to create chips with that technology today.
Okay. And is there software coming soon to start consuming this already? Do you know of any projects that are being developed to make this available to application developers?
Yeah, there's a lot of projects in development. One that's interesting is called Project COCO. It stands for Confidential Containers. And it's a project that's developed to bring confidentiality to containers, so that it's more cloud native, right? And we know all about those.
I'm starting to see where all your specialties kind of coming, because you came from Docker. Yeah. So containers now.
So who is developing Coco? Is that our project, or is that a community effort?
It is a community effort. It's being done under the CNCF. There's a number of companies involved in that project. I think, a whole lot of companies involved.
CNCF, by the way, is Cloud Native Compute Foundation.
Yeah, that's a Linux Foundation project there.
Are you going to be at KubeCon this year?
That's a good question. Yeah. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, because we're going to be there. We have a booth and everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you should stop by. I mean,
okay,
I feel like that's right up your alley.
Come on.
Yeah,
it's just down from where I live. So
okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
In Waterloo,
okay.
Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a song about Waterloo.
Not that Waterloo.
You know what? I've been reminded of that during
Napoleon didn't make it to that Waterloo.
Exactly. That was the old.
Yeah. All right. Cool, Mike. Any more questions for Mark? I mean,
no. Other than let's have you back on once we've got hardware or software and some updates for developers, because this sounds really interesting. I know, there's been massive cloud adoption, right? Public cloud adoption, but there's still workloads that can't run on a public cloud because that information is so confidential.
You know what? There's a few use cases that drive the need for confidential compute. You're describing one here. The inability of moving regulated applications to the cloud. That's a big one. But the one that just came up that's really interesting is the marriage of AI and confidential compute. When you think about AI or ML, the training, the inference, all these activities, all these things that are happening are often on sensitive data. So there's the need to protect the data in, the data out, the models. All that is.
I hadn't even thought of that use case, but that's absolutely right.
I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people out there already thinking about how they're going to use this. Of course, for good or for evil, who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And any more questions from you, Michael? Because
let's have you back on once we have more information on that, more things that people can start playing around with. In the meantime, though, where should they go to get those fast models?
Yeah, so ARM CCA is where you want to start. So go to the website under ARM, look for ARM CCA, stands for Confidential Compute Architecture. All the resources are there, and then from there you can pipe your way into, these models, examples,
down into the rabbit hole.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure, again, like I said, all of those resources are plugged in there and into the description of this video. And of course, if you're on Discord, feel free to ask us questions, and we'll make sure that Mark is involved in the answers. We'll get everything we need from him over time. And yeah, so Mark, I mean, gosh, we just pulled him from upstairs. He was closing up. He's like, I got to catch a train. But yeah, thank you so much.
We didn't prepare any of this. Like, you just jumped right into the hot seat, and thank you so much for doing that.
Hey, my pleasure.
Cool. All right. So we're going to close this out real quick and then we'll let you catch your train. All right. Okay.
Guys,
Yeah.
take care.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Have a good. All right. So that was Marc Meunier, Director Ecosystem Development here at ARM, live from Cambridge office. And once again, want to thank him. Want to thank all of you for watching. And if you did enjoy this episode, don't forget to do what to that like button.
Hit that like. Sorry. Smash.
You
that like and
annihilate
subscribe
it.
button.
You annihilate that like button. Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to the ARM Software Developer YouTube channel, where we go live every single Thursday at 5 p.m. UTC, meeting guests like Mark and other folks around our ecosystem, the developer community, and try to bring you at least the best and coolest things happening in and around ARM.
And if you are not watching this live because you missed it and you don't want to miss any more live episodes, go to our Discord, subscribe to our live streams tag there. We will send out a message before every show. You'll get a ping. If you subscribe to it, you'll get a notification so you don't miss any more of these live shows.
Yeah, one last thing I do want to add here, because if you are watching this, you must like, ARM. We will be interviewing Anusha Ansari, who is the CEO and founder of XPRIZE, next week on September 27th for the first and inaugural episode of ARM TV. And so don't forget that. Or don't forget to go check that out. In fact, I will be hosting it. So that should be a lot of fun. The first time I've done something like this with such a, I want to say, prestigious individual. She not only an amazing contributor to the tech space, but she also was an astronaut. She went up into space and
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the whole Ansari X Prize thing coming out.
Ah, there you go.
Following all of that. So that was really cool. I'm looking forward to watching that.
It'll be a fun one. And there's already been a lot of people signed up to this. So, we'll share that resource as well in the description. So you can go check that out, sign up, register, and then join us on the 27th for that live stream. Okay, cool. Let's close this out. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week, next Thursday, 5 p.m. UTC.
Yeah, 5. Oh, Tuesday.
No, Thursday.
Tuesday. Yeah, Thursday.
Every Thursday. Yeah, 5 p.m.
Tuesday we'll do an office hour.
Yes, Tuesday office hours. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Live from Cambridge.